The medical center on the alien station was quiet. Only the sound of soft humming machines filled the halls. The smell of sterile air and glowing lights made everything feel cold and professional. Nurses moved from room to room, treating soldiers. And travelers, they all looked calm, their faces serious as they worked. Among them was a young alien nurse named Liara. She had always been known for her discipline and steady hands. She was not someone who lost control. That day, a human soldier entered the center. His name was Daniel. His uniform was torn from long travel, but his eyes showed no fear. He walked with the kind of strength that made even the strongest alien guards look at him with respect. Humans were rare visitors here, and whenever one appeared, whispers always followed. Some aliens admired their courage, others feared their unpredictable nature. Liara had seen humans only from a distance, never this close. When Daniel's name appeared on her assignment sheet, she took a slow breath and reminded herself, it is only a routine check. Just another patient, nothing more. She prepared the scanner, a smooth silver device that could read every detail of a body. She entered the room where Daniel sat waiting. His tall frame almost filled the chair. His eyes looked calm but curious as he studied the alien nurse. "Please hold still," Liara said softly. Her voice was even, though her hands felt unusually tense. She moved the scanner over his head, then his shoulders. The device hummed as it collected information. For a moment, everything seemed normal. She told herself this was just another soldier. But then, the scanner passed over his chest. The device beeped loudly, the sound sharper than usual. Liara frowned and checked the display. The numbers raced across the screen, signals flashing in ways she had never seen. Her heart skipped. She tried again. Scanning the same area, again the same strange result. The scanner seemed to react to something inside the human body. Suddenly, Liara felt warmth rising in her face. Her skin shifted color, glowing red. She quickly looked away, embarrassed. Daniel tilted his head. His voice calm. "Is something wrong?" he asked. Liara swallowed hard. She wanted to say no, to continue the exam like nothing happened, but her hands were shaking now. The scanner continued to beep as if mocking her. The data on the screen was not only unusual, it was impossible. No other species triggered this kind of reaction, not in the machine, not in her body. She forced a smile and said, "The scan must continue in private." Her words were sharp, more urgent than she expected. Daniel raised an eyebrow clearly. "Surprised? Private?" he asked. "Why?" Liara didn't answer. She stood quickly and gestured toward a side room. Her blush deepened, her pulse racing. The other nurses outside might notice soon, and she couldn't allow them to see. Humans were already seen as dangerous, if anyone discovered what the scanner revealed. It could create fear or worse. Punishment? Daniel followed silently, his steps steady but curious. Inside the private room, the door closed behind them. Liara placed the scanner on the table and pressed her hands together. Trying to calm herself, she could feel her face still burning red. She had never lost control like this before. She was known for being calm, cold, untouchable, yet won humans. Presence had broken that image in seconds. Daniel leaned against the wall, his eyes fixed on her. "What did you see?" he asked. His voice was not angry, only calm, almost gentle, but his curiosity was strong. He wanted answers. Liara looked down. She could not tell him yet. The truth was too dangerous. Her people did not accept weakness, and what she felt now was worse than weakness, was something forbidden. She had to choose between lying or admitting something that could destroy her career. Her silence only deepened the tension. The hum of the machines filled the room. Daniel finally spoke again. His tone softer. "You turned red. Was it the scanner, or was it me?" Liara's breath caught. She looked up sharply. Her heart was pounding louder than the machine's. She had no answer. And that silence told Daniel more than words ever could. In that moment, the routine check was no longer routine. It was the beginning of something strange, something dangerous, and something that neither of them fully understood. The nurse, who had always been calm, controlled, and professional, had lost her balance. And the human, unaware of what truly happened, had unknowingly stepped into a secret that would change both of their lives. The private room was small, lit by a pale blue light that gave the walls a cold glow. The hum of the machines was softer. Here, almost like a whisper, Daniel stepped inside without hesitation. His boots clicking softly against the floor. He looked around the room, then back at Liara, the alien nurse who had suddenly changed from calm professional to something else entirely. Liara closed the door quickly, pressing her hand against the panel to lock it. Her chest rose and fell faster than normal, her skin still glowing red with heat. She tried to hide it, but the color betrayed her every thought. She picked up the scanner again and placed it on the table as if she needed time to think. Daniel crossed his arms, his voice calm but steady. "You said this needed to be private," he said. "Why?" "What did the scanner show?" Liara kept her eyes down. She wanted to speak, but the words would not come easily. She had trained for years to hide her feelings, to remain professional, yet now her body was betraying her. She could not explain the reaction, not without revealing the truth. The readings were unusual, she finally said. Her voice was low, almost a whisper. "I need to confirm them without others seeing." Daniel tilted his head, watching her carefully. "Unusual?" he repeated. His tone was curious, but not mocking. He was, soldier, used to danger and surprises. But this was different. He had never seen someone react like this to a simple scan. Liara turned her back to him, adjusting the machine. Her hands trembled slightly as she tried to hide her face. She could still feel the warmth spreading across her skin. She hated that she had lost control. She hated even more that he had noticed. She activated the scanner again, the soft hum filling the silence. She pointed it at him, her voice softer now. "Please remain still." Daniel obeyed, standing tall and steady. His eyes never left her. He could see the way her hands shook, the way her lips pressed tightly together as if holding back words. He could sense the tension in the room. The scanner beeped. Again, the same sharp sound as before. The readings lit up in red symbols across the display. Lyra's breath caught. She nearly dropped the device. The signals were stronger now, reacting even more than before. It was undeniable. Humans carried something her species could not resist. Her face burned brighter. She quickly turned off the device. "Enough," she whispered, pressing the scanner against her chest as if to silence it. Daniel took a small step forward, his voice steady but softer now. "You're hiding something," he said. "And it's not just about the machine." Liara froze. Her throat tightened. She wanted to deny it, but her body betrayed her. The truth was dangerous. If others discovered it, she would be shamed, maybe even punished. Her people considered emotional weakness a threat to discipline, and yet, here she was, red, trembling, unable to control herself. Finally, she whispered, "Your body. It gives off signals, strong ones. My species is sensitive to them." She lowered her head, ashamed. "It is not supposed to happen. But with you, it did." Daniel blinked, his expression unreadable at first. Then slowly he relaxed, his voice calm. "So it wasn't the machine," he said. "It was me." Liara closed her eyes. Unable to meet his gaze, she nodded once. "Yes," she whispered. "You." The silence that followed was heavy, filled with unspoken tension. Daniel did not laugh, did not mock her. Instead, he studied her, his voice quiet but firm. "Why hide it?" "Because if they know, Liara whispered, her hands tightening around the scanner. They will say, I am weak. They will say, I am not fit to serve. She finally looked up, her eyes shining with fear and something else, something softer. And they will never understand what I felt when I scanned you. Daniel stepped closer, just enough that she could feel his presence, his voice steady. Then I will keep your secret. Lyra's breath caught again, her eyes widened. You will do that? She asked. He gave a small nod, his expression serious. I've kept worse secrets than this, he said. And I know what it means to be judged for things you can't control. Her chest tightened. She had never expected a human to show kindness. Not in this way. His calm voice and steady gaze made her feel both safe and nervous at the same time. For the first time, she wondered if this moment was not just a mistake, but something that might change her life. But outside the locked door, voices began to rise. Other nurses were asking questions. Why was the human taking so long? Why had Liara locked the room? Suspicion was growing. Liara's red glow deepened. Her heart raced. She looked at Daniel. Panic in her eyes. They must not know, she whispered. Please, I beg you. Daniel nodded without hesitation, his eyes hardening. Then we give them nothing, he said. The door panel flickered as someone tried to override the lock. The voices outside grew louder. Liara froze. Daniel moved to stand between her and the door, his tall frame casting a shadow across her. For the first time in her life, Liara felt something she had never known, a strange comfort. The feeling that someone would stand for her, even against her own people. And in that quiet moment, as the door began to open, she realized the truth. This human was no ordinary patient. He was the beginning of something far more dangerous, far more powerful, and far more personal than she ever imagined. The door hissed open, and two alien nurses stepped inside. Their eyes moved quickly between Daniel and Liara, suspicion already. Growing, Lyra's pulse raced as she stood frozen. The scanner still hidden against her chest. Daniel shifted slightly, his tall frame blocking part of their view. Is everything fine? One nurse asked, his voice sharp. His gaze lingered on the locked door, then on Lyra's face, which was still glowing red. Liara forced herself to breathe slowly. She wanted to explain, to calm their suspicions. But the words tangled in her throat. Daniel stepped forward instead, his voice steady and commanding. It was nothing, he said. The scanner glitched. She wanted to run another test in private. That is all. The two nurses exchanged doubtful looks. One of them opened his mouth to press further, but Daniel's eyes met his. There was a weight behind that human stare, a quiet strength that made the alien hesitate. Finally, they nodded stiffly and backed away. Be quick, one muttered before leaving. The door slid shut again, silence filling the room once more. Liara let out a shaky breath. Her knees almost gave way. She clutched the scanner tightly and whispered, You protected me. Daniel shrugged, his tone calm. You needed time. That's all. She looked at him, her eyes full of conflict. You don't understand, she whispered. If they knew what the scan revealed, I would lose everything. Daniel tilted his head. Then tell me, he said softly. What did it reveal? Liara froze, her lips trembled. She wanted to stay silent, to bury the truth forever. But his eyes held her, calm and steady. Waiting, he wasn't demanding, only patient. And that patience broke her defenses more than anger ever could. Finally, she spoke, her voice quiet. Humans. You give off a signal. It is not chemical, not mechanical. It is something deeper. A resonance that my species can sense. She gripped the scanner tighter. When I scanned you, that signal touched me. It went past my training, past my control. It awakened instincts I was taught to suppress. Daniel listened carefully, his expression unreadable. Instincts? he asked. Lyra's face burned brighter. Feelings, she admitted, her voice barely audible. Desire, attraction, emotions, things my people see as weakness. I am a nurse. I am supposed to be calm, detached, but your presence broke that. The scanner only proved it. The weight of her confession hung heavy in the room. Daniel remained quiet for a long moment. His gaze stayed on her. Not mocking, not judging, only thoughtful. You're saying, he began slowly, that just standing near me makes you feel this way. Lyra lowered her eyes, ashamed. Yes, she whispered. And if anyone knew, I would be marked as unfit. They would remove me from service. Maybe worse. Daniel took a deep breath. He understood now why she was so afraid. He understood why she begged for privacy. But part of him also wondered why him? Why humans? What made them different? Lyra set the scanner back on the table, her hands trembling. This cannot be spoken outside this room, she said firmly, her eyes lifted, meeting his. Do you understand? My life depends on it. Daniel nodded without hesitation. Your secret is safe, he said. Something in his voice made her heart stir again. He spoke with certainty, with honesty, qualities her people rarely showed. For the first time, she felt a strange comfort, like he was not just a patient, but something more, something steady she could lean on. But Lyra's fear did not vanish. You don't realize what you've done, she whispered. By protecting me, you have tied yourself to me. If they grow suspicious again, they will question you too. Daniel smirked faintly, his voice calm. I've faced worse than suspicion, he said. If I have to stand between you and them. Will Lyra's chest tightened. She had never heard words like that, not from her people, not from anyone. She looked at him in silence, her mind racing, her instinct screamed danger. But her heart whispered something else entirely. The silence stretched until the intercom outside buzzed. A voice called for Lyra's report. She stiffened, panic flashing across her face. She could not leave yet, not without composing herself. Not with her skin still glowing red, Daniel noticed. He stepped closer. Lowering his voice, calm yourself, he said. Look at me. She hesitated. Then slowly raised her eyes. His gaze met hers, steady, unshaken. For some reason, the pounding in her chest slowed. The heat in her face dimmed. It was as if his presence itself was grounding her. You're stronger than you think, Daniel said quietly. Don't let them take that from you. Lyra swallowed hard, her voice weak but steady. Why are you helping me? Daniel gave a small shrug. Because I know what it's like to carry something others wouldn't understand, he said. And no one deserves to face that alone. Her heart skipped, her fingers clenched at her sides. She had never imagined a human could speak words that cut so deep. Words that touched something inside her she had long buried. The intercom buzzed again. Louder this time, she had to respond. Lyra took one last breath, forcing her glow to fade. She gathered her strength, placed the scanner back in its case, and prepared her voice when she stepped out of that room. She would be calm, professional, untouchable once more. But inside, she knew the truth. Her secret was no longer hers alone. It belonged to the human too, and that bond, as dangerous as it was, could never be undone. The hall outside the private room buzzed with whispers. Nurses passed glances to one another, their voices hushed but sharp. A locked door, a human patient. And Lyra's glowing face, it was enough to spark rumors that would not easily fade. Lyra stood still inside, her back against the wall. She could feel the tension pressing down from every direction. The intercom call still echoed in her ears. Her people demanded answers, and soon she would have none to give. Daniel watched her quietly. His steady gaze never wavered. He could see her fear. But he also saw something else's strength. even if she did not believe it. "You can walk out there calm," he said, his voice low but firm. "You've faced worse, haven't you?" Liara shook her head, her voice a whisper. "Not like this. I was trained to control myself, to hide every weakness. But now?" She touched her cheek, still faintly red. "They will see what I cannot hide." Daniel stepped closer, his tall frame casting a shadow across her. "Then let me carry the blame," he said simply. Her eyes widened. "Why would you do that?" She asked. "Because I can," he answered. His tone was calm, but beneath it was iron. "They already fear me for what I am. Let them use me as the excuse, not you." Lyra's chest tightened. She searched his face for some hidden motive. But all she saw was honesty. It frightened her more than anger ever could. A human willing to shield her, that was something she never imagined. Before she could reply, the door slid open again. A senior doctor entered, his presence filling the room with cold authority. His narrow eyes moved between Lyra and Daniel. His voice was sharp. "Explain, Nurse Lyra, why was this patient locked in here? Why were protocols ignored?" Lyra's lips parted, but no words came. Her heart pounded. Her mind screamed to defend herself, but her throat closed tight. Daniel stepped forward before she could speak, his voice steady. "It was me," he said. "I asked her for privacy. I didn't want others watching during the scan." The doctor frowned, his gaze narrowing. "Humans and their pride," he muttered, shaking his head. His suspicion did not fade, but he turned it away from Lyra, focusing on Daniel instead. "If this happens again, Nurse Lyra, you will answer for it," he said coldly. Then he walked out without waiting for her reply. The door closed, leaving. Silence behind. Lyra turned to Daniel, her eyes wide. "Why did you?" "Because you froze," Daniel interrupted gently. "And I told you. I won't let them take this from you." Her breath caught, her hands trembled. "You don't understand what this means. You risked your own standing for me. And for what? For a nurse you don't even know." Daniel's gaze softened. "I know enough," he said. "I know you're fighting against something you were never trained to face. And no one deserves to fight alone." Lyra's heart ached with confusion. Her people never spoke like this, never offered help without reason. Yet here was a human, offering himself as a shield without demand. But the danger was not gone. Outside, whispers grew louder. The other nurses carried suspicions like fire, and soon the fire would spread. Lyra knew it. The walls of the medical center felt smaller, colder, each passing minute that evening. Lyra sat alone in her quarters, her hands clenched around the scanner she had hidden away. The device still carried the impossible readings, proof of everything she feared. She wanted to destroy it, to erase the evidence forever, yet she could not. Her eyes lingered on the data, the lines of energy that linked only to humans. Her thoughts spiraled. Was it fate? Was it danger? Or was it something far deeper, something her people refused to see? A soft knock broke her thoughts. She turned quickly, her heart racing. The door slid open, and Daniel stepped in. His presence filled the small space, calm but strong. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "If they see you, they won't." He replied, closing the door. "But I had to check. You didn't look fine when they dragged me out." Lyra's lips trembled. She wanted to tell him to leave, to protect himself. But instead, she said, "Why do you care?" Daniel leaned against the wall, his eyes never leaving hers. "Because I know what it's like to be treated as different. To have people stare at you as if you're a danger just for existing. You don't deserve that. Not for something you can't control." Her throat tightened, her eyes stung. She turned away quickly, ashamed of the emotions rising inside. "If anyone finds out, I will lose everything," she whispered. "And now, maybe you too." Daniel's voice was calm. "Then we face it together," Liara's breath shook. The words wrapped around her like a shield, a promise she had never felt so exposed, yet so safe. The conflict in her heart grew heavier. Her people would call this weakness, but was it weakness to feel? Or was it something her people had long forgotten, something that made humans so different? The night outside the station grew quiet, but inside her chest the storm raged louder. Tension was rising. The whispers outside grew stronger. The danger was closing in, and yet, against all reason, she found herself clinging to the presence of the one who caused it, all the human who had turned her world upside down. The medical center quieted after the long day, but whispers still lingered in the halls. Rumors spread like smoke, following Liara wherever she walked. Some nurses avoided her gaze. Others stared too long. She could feel the weight of their suspicion pressing against her every step, but in the silence of her quarters, she found something she never expected. Daniel's presence. He had come quietly. Waiting until the corridors were empty, his tall figure filled the doorway as she sat, with the scanner in her hands. For a moment, neither spoke. The hum of the station's engines was the only sound. "You shouldn't be here," Liara said softly, though her voice lacked the strength to push him away. Daniel stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "Maybe," he admitted, "but I thought you might need someone to talk to." Her fingers tightened around the scanner. She looked down at it as if it were both a curse and a lifeline. "This device has destroyed me," she whispered. "One reading, and everything I am trained to be is gone." Daniel walked closer, pulling a chair and sitting across from her. His voice was calm, steady. "Maybe it didn't destroy you," he said. "Maybe it revealed something you weren't meant to ignore." Lyra's eyes lifted, searching his face. "And what if that something is forbidden?" she asked. Her words trembled. "My people call feelings weakness. Desire is shame. Attraction is disgrace. I will be cast out if they learn the truth." Daniel leaned forward, his arms resting on his knees. "Where I come from," he said, "feelings aren't weakness. They make us stronger. They give us reasons to fight, reasons to survive." His words struck deep. Lyra's heart thudded painfully in her chest. No one from her kind would ever speak such words. They would laugh at the very idea, but here was a human, speaking them as if they were truth carved into stone. Silence wrapped the room, heavy but not empty. For the first time, Liara did not feel afraid of her blush. Her skin still glowed faintly red, but she did not look away. She allowed herself to meet his gaze. "Why do you not fear me?" she asked, her voice unsteady. "Others look at humans with suspicion. They see danger in every step you take." Daniel gave a faint smile, though his eyes remained serious. "Because fear is easy," he said. "Understanding takes effort. And I would rather try to understand you than fear you." Her throat tightened, her heart raced. She had never been spoken to this way, not as a nurse, not as a servant of her people, but as herself, Lyra. A woman who suddenly felt more alive than she had in years. The moment stretched, then broke as the intercom outside buzzed. Announcements echoed through the hall. The medical staff were being called for inspection. Liara stiffened, her glow fading. Into cold fear, "They will ask questions," she whispered. "About today, about us. They will not stop until they find answers." Daniel's voice was calm, almost too calm. "Then let them ask," he said. "We tell them nothing. We give them nothing to use against you." Her hands shook. She whispered, "You don't understand the risk." "I do," he replied. His eyes hardened. "And I've already chosen it." The words silenced her. Her heart skipped. She looked at him with disbelief. "Chosen it?" she asked softly. Daniel nodded. "I know what it means. If I protect you, they will question me too, but I've faced enemies with weapons far worse than suspicion. If this is the fight, then so be it." Her chest tightened painfully. She turned. Away, hiding the tears threatening to rise, her people would see this as weakness. But Daniel, he saw it as strength, and for the first time, she wondered if everything she had been taught was wrong. Later that night, Liara walked with Daniel through one of the empty observation decks. The vastness of space stretched before them, stars burning in endless silence. She stood beside him, the scanner left behind. Her thoughts heavy, but her steps lighter than before. "Look at them," Daniel said quietly, nodding toward the stars. "Every point of light is a world. Every world with people who think they know truth, but truth changes when two lives collide." Liara stared at him, his words filling her with both fear and hope. "And what truth have we collided with?" she asked. Daniel turned his gaze to her, steady and unshaken, that sometimes rules are lies, and sometimes weakness is just another name for being alive. Her breath caught, her heart pounded. The truth in his words felt dangerous, but it also felt right. She wanted to deny it, to push it away, but instead she whispered, "And if we are caught?" Daniel's voice was firm. "Then let them come. They won't take this from us." For a long moment, the silence of the stars wrapped around them. Liara felt her fear still there, heavy in her chest, but beside it, something else bloomed, something her people had never allowed. A bond, fragile yet unbreakable. The whispers outside would not stop. The suspicion would grow, but here, under the watch of countless stars, Liara realized the truth she had been running from. The human had not broken her. He had awakened her, and that awakening, no matter the risk, was something she could never let go of. Morning came with a sharp chill inside the medical center. The halls buzzed louder than usual, footsteps quick, voices tight. An inspection team had arrived from the higher council, and their presence brought a heavy weight that pressed on every nurse and doctor. Liara felt the pressure immediately. Her heart pounded as she walked through the corridors. Every gaze seemed sharper. Every whisper seemed aimed at her. The memory of the scanner, of her blush, and of Daniel's steady eyes haunted her with every step. When she entered the main hall, she froze. At the center stood Chief Examiner Ravos, tall and stern, his silver robe marking his rank. His voice cut through the air like steel. Yesterday, a protocol was broken. A human patient was locked in a private room. This demands explanation. The crowd grew silent. Dozens of eyes shifted toward Liara. Her skin burned faintly. She wanted to sink into the floor, accuse. But Ravos' piercing gaze held her in place. Daniel stood at the edge of the hall. His arms crossed. Watching, he saw her struggle, saw the fear creeping into her eyes. And before she could speak, he stepped forward. "It was me," Daniel said. His voice was calm, but it carried weight. The silence deepened as all attention turned to him. "I asked for privacy. I don't like being examined in front of strangers." Ravos' eyes narrowed, and the nurse obeyed without question. He asked, his tone dripped with suspicion. "That would mean her discipline is weak." Liara's chest tightened. Shame clawed at her, but Daniel's voice cut through her thoughts again. Steady and unshaken, she only followed her duty too. "The patient," Daniel said, "if there is blame, it belongs to me, not her." A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some aliens looked doubtful, others whispered about human arrogance. Ravos raised his hand, silencing them. His eyes moved back to Liara. "Step forward," he commanded. Her knees felt heavy, but she obeyed. She walked slowly, her head low. Her skin still betrayed her faint red blush, pulsing across her cheeks. She prayed no one would notice, prayed the light would hide it. But the chief examiner noticed everything. "You blush," he said coldly. "Why?" Liara froze. Her lips parted, but no words came. Her body betrayed her again. She wanted to scream, to deny, but her throat was locked. Daniel stepped forward once more, his voice louder now. "Because your hall is filled with stares and judgment," he said, "any being would blush under that weight." Even a soldier, gasps filled the hall. Some whispered in shock at his boldness. Others glared at him with anger, but his words gave Liara the shield she could not form herself. Ravos studied Daniel carefully, his eyes cold. "Humans always twist truth," he said, "always hiding something. Perhaps the nurse has hidden more than we know." The accusation struck like a blade. Lyra's chest tightened. Panic rose inside her, but before she collapsed under it, Daniel stepped closer. Standing between her and the examiner, his tall frame blocked the harsh gaze. "If you want answers," Daniel said, his voice steady as iron, "you ask me, leave her out of it." The silence that followed was heavy. Even the machines in the hall seemed to hold their hum. Liara stared at him, her heart pounding. No one had ever stood for her like this. No one had ever dared to defy authority in her name. Ravos's lips curled slightly. "Bold words, human," he said. "But boldness does not erase suspicion. We will investigate further. And if the nurse is found guilty of breaking discipline, she will be removed from her post." Lyra's blood ran cold. The hall's whispers grew again, louder, sharper. She wanted to run, to hide, but Daniel's voice found her once more. "Then you will find nothing," he said firmly, "because she did nothing wrong." The examiner's eyes narrowed. But he said no more. With a wave of his hand, he dismissed the crowd. The inspection would continue. But the shadow of doubt now hung heavy over Liara. That night, Liara sat alone again in her quarters. Her hands pressed to her chest, her breath shallow. She had nearly been exposed. Her world had nearly collapsed. The door slid open quietly, and Daniel stepped inside, his face calm, though his eyes carried the storm of the day. "You should not have spoken for me," Liara whispered, her voice breaking. "Now they will target you too." Daniel shrugged, his tone even. "I've been targeted before. This isn't the first time. It won't be the last." Her tears finally fell. She turned her face away, ashamed. "I cannot stop this. I cannot stop myself. The scanner was only the beginning. Every time I look at you, it happens again." Daniel stepped closer, kneeling in front of her, his voice quiet but firm. "Then stop fighting it," he said. "You can't erase what you feel. And you don't have to." Her eyes snapped to his, wide and trembling. "But my people, your people, don't get to decide who you are." He interrupted. His gaze held hers, steady and unyielding. "You do." Her breath shook. Her heart pounded. His words were dangerous, forbidden, but they felt more true than anything she had been told in her life for the first time. Liara reached out, her hand trembling as it touched his. The warmth between them was undeniable, frightening, and yet strangely safe in that moment. She realized the exposure was no longer just about the scanner or the council. It was about her heart, and no matter the danger, she knew it had already chosen. The days after the inspection passed like a storm. The medical center never felt the same. Whispers followed Liara wherever she walked. Her fellow nurses spoke less to her, their eyes sharper, colder. She kept her head down, her hands steady as she worked, but inside, fear and doubt gnawed at her. Daniel, however, remained calm. His presence was a shield she had never expected whenever he was near. The tension around her seemed lighter, even in silence. His steady gaze reminded her that she was not alone. One evening, as the halls emptied and the lights dimmed, Liara sat alone in the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly outside, glittering like diamonds against the black sea of space. Her reflection in the glass showed a woman caught between two worlds, duty and desire, fear and freedom. She did not hear him at first, but soon Daniel's footsteps echoed softly. He walked beside her, his arms folded as he studied the stars. "You've been quiet," he said, his voice low. Liara turned to him, her cheeks glowing faintly. "Every day, I feel them watching me," she whispered. "Every glance reminds me that they suspect. I cannot keep this hidden forever." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then stop hiding," he said. His tone was steady. But his words carried weight. Her eyes widened. "You don't understand," she whispered. "If I confess what the scanner showed, they will strip me of my position. They will exile me. They might even—" Her voice broke. "Erase me." Daniel turned toward her fully, his gaze fierce but gentle. "Then let them try," he said. "I won't let them take you, not while I breathe." Her heart skipped. His words burned inside her like fire. No one had ever spoken such defiance for her sake. Her people would never risk themselves this way. But this human, this stranger, who had become so much more, spoke as if her life was worth more than his own safety. She swallowed hard, her voice trembling. "Why? Why would you risk so much for me?" Daniel's expression softened, his eyes locked on hers. "Because I see you," he said. "Not just a nurse, not just a duty. I see you. And you're worth fighting for." Tears stung her eyes. She tried to look away, but her heart betrayed her, pulling her gaze back to his. Her body glowed brighter, not from shame, but from something deeper, acceptance. For a long moment, silence held them. Only the stars as witness. Liara finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "Then, if this is my end, let it begin with truth." Daniel leaned closer, his voice steady. "Then speak it." Her chest rose and fell quickly, her breath trembling. "The scanner showed that humans, there awakens something in me. Something my people call weakness. But it does not feel like weakness. Not with you. It feels like life." Daniel's lips curved faintly, his voice calm. "Then hold on to it." The words filled her with courage. A fragile spark grew stronger. She placed her trembling hand against his. For the first time, she did not fight the warmth. She let it spread through her. But outside the observation deck, shadows lingered. Unseen eyes had begun to notice more than they should. The whispers were no longer only rumors, they were questions. Reports, secrets carried to higher ears. Liara knew this was not the end of their struggle. It was only the beginning, but for the first time. She did not feel afraid. She felt alive. She looked back at Daniel, her voice steady now. "If they come for me, will you still stand beside me?" Daniel nodded without hesitation, his words simple but iron strong. "Always." Her heart swelled. Her people would never understand. Perhaps they never could. But here, in the quiet hum of the station, she understood something new. This bond, born in secrecy, forged in fear, was stronger than the rules of her kind. The stars outside burned brighter, endless and vast. Liara leaned closer, her forehead almost touching his. She whispered, "Then let this be our new beginning." Daniel's hand closed gently around hers, his voice low, filled with certainty. "A beginning they will never take from us." And as the silence wrapped around them, the nurse who once lived only by duty and the human who carried secrets of his own stood together. Their worlds had tried to keep them apart, but fate had written a different story, a story that had only just begun.